Hi guys, Mike here from the Unchained Teacher, and today what I want to do is talk about how to collect and analyze data from your classroom. So lately, collecting and analyzing and using data is kind of the buzzword around education, right? Everybody wants to see you use data to make informed decisions to help your students grow, right? So today we're going to talk about how do you do that, tools to use that, and then a bonus here to crush your classroom observations that have probably started to come up or are coming up shortly. So before we jump into it, I want to invite you guys to download my free guide titled Five Things Great Teachers Get Right. So what it is it's a simple guide. It's a simple PDF that I've put together from observing veteran teachers. What I've seen over the years is that veteran teachers, a lot of them do these five things or variations of these five things, and I've used them in my classroom, and they've really seemed to help. And I want to share those with you guys. The other thing is I've created a Facebook group to support new teachers. So whether you're in your first, second, third year, or maybe you're changing schools or coming in from a different career, or maybe changing grade levels, and you want support, this is a great group to do that. So really want to share our wins, share our losses, and walk along each other to kind of help us just be better teachers, right? A lot of times we don't feel supported, or you feel like you're on an island. In this group, I want to bring together to not feel that way, right? To feel supported in all the ways in teaching. So getting back to collecting and analyzing data, the first step is to collect data. So that can look a lot of different ways. I teach 8th grade math, so I use quick checks. A lot of times, most days, if not all days, I do a warm up so I can really quickly collect more of a formative side of data. Exit tickets are a great thing to do while they're leaving class. Really quick way to see, are they getting the material or not? You can do a whiteboard activity where students have to, maybe you show a question up on the board and they answer it on whiteboards. Or my school is a one-to-one school, meaning that each kid gets a Chromebook. So I use a whiteboard app on there that they can do an answer and hold it up. You can do online surveys. I know Google Forms is a really quick way to do that, but you need some way to collect data. So it doesn't matter really where it comes from. You really want to get two types. You want more of a formative and you want a summative. So formative data being stuff like exit tickets, quick checks, things that you're not really giving them a full out grade for. You're more just checking to see where they're at so that you can design kind of a plan moving forward. And we'll talk about that in step 3. And then summative, meaning like quiz and test scores. So you want to be able to give a test or a quiz or some kind of assessment where they can clearly show if they know certain standards or not. So step number 1 is collecting the data. Whatever you do in class, you should be in some type of way gauging where students are at based on the data that you collect. Again, it could be stuff they hand in or not, but you just want to collect some kind of data. The second point would be analyzing the data. So check how your class did and find the 3 most questions. So what I like to do a lot of times is in my math class, 3 of the main grades are quick check grades, quiz grades, and test grades. We do some homework grades, some warm-up grades, things like that. A couple of projects throughout the year. But those are the 3 most consistent grades. So a lot of times what we do is each lesson will get a quick check, if not 2 quick checks. So 1.1 gets its own, 1.2, 1.3, right? So along the way, we usually do 1, maybe 2 a week. I can do this quick check where we take it like a quiz. We go over it, they grade it, and then they turn it in. And what this allows me to do is to check where certain students are at, right? So, some students might get a 3 out of 10. A lot of them get like a 7 out of 10. So you can kind of analyze by flipping through the grades to see where each student is at, and also where the class is at as a whole, right? So you can see like, oh, did this class bomb this quick check, or are they doing really well? So you can check between the hours. And what you can also do is check individual questions. So a lot of times we have 4 to 5 questions on a quick check. So if I'm flipping through and putting their grades in online and I notice that, man, a lot of people are missing let's say number 4, right? A lot of people are missing number 4. I know then what I need to do moving forward. And that's, again, the planning stage. But what I want to do is really dial in on individually how are they doing, class wise, how are they doing? Because if one class is a lot different than the other, something's going on. But then you also want to check and analyze what questions are they specifically getting wrong. Same thing on a quiz and a test, right? We want to see where are most students making mistakes, where are most students getting hung up, so that when you go over the quiz, and if your school allows retakes, right, you can kind of reteach some of those things in order to get them where they have to be. The third step being the planning stage. In the planning stage, you might have to slow down class, like it says. You might have to reteach. You might have to pull students out. But the whole reason why we collect and analyze the data is so that we can make a plan moving forward, right? I know a lot of, coming out of college, they teach this a lot. It's a lot harder to do once you get into class because there's so much going on. But this really does inform you on how you move forward. Just like anything else, right? We get quick feedback, and then we make changes based on that. So the planning stage, if you notice, like I just had it the other day, where we gave a 4-question quick check, and students were messing up negatives a lot. So we're solving equations, they're messing up negatives on like question number 3. So what I could do then the next day in class, we grade them together. A lot of kids don't like to ask questions, so we turn them in. I go through them, I put them in the grade book. But then what I can do is say, okay, boom, number 3, a lot of them are messing up, how to distribute the negative. So then the next day, what I like to do is either change my warm-up to include that, or just make sure that I do like a mini lesson on how to distribute the negatives, right? Or and kind of get them to practice it along the way. So sometimes I do that. I reteach, or I make it a part of my warm-up. If I notice that a small group of students is doing it, maybe 5 to 10 students, maybe I'll let, I'll give the class an activity, whatever activity I was going to do that day, but then I pull some students to work on that for maybe 5 minutes, right? Or maybe if it's most of the class or a majority of the class, what I can do is maybe slow down the pace of the class and say, okay, the whole class missed this. That means I'm doing something wrong, or there's some kind of miscommunication. So what I have to do is slow down the class, go through that process maybe again, or think about how I could teach it in a different way, so that hopefully they get it moving forward. So again, this works because we collect data, we analyze that data, and then we can plan our future classes based on that collected and analyzed data. It's the same thing with students, right? A lot of times, especially in math, we give students feedback on their scores so that they can change their scores. Like at my school, we give each student a chance to retake every assessment. So by grading them and giving them good feedback, right? Not just saying you're wrong, but like, here's where you went wrong. Here's how to change it. Here's how to do it maybe next time. Then they learn the process, right? So that the next time they see it, they can do it well. So just something to think about as you're going. Really try to collect as much data as you can. There are ways to do it efficient and effectively, so that I know a lot of people get overwhelmed by collecting so much data and grading all the time. I know I've been there before too. But ways to be efficient and effective to collect, analyze, and then plan using your data in ways that work for you. Okay, and then my bonus for today is that planning, or collecting, analyzing, and planning is the key to crushing your classroom observations. So a lot of times for administration, and I have my administration degree, a lot of times what they're looking for, and right on their document that they have to fill out, it's how are they using data to inform their classroom. And so what you want to do when you're getting observed is you really want to collect some kind of data, and then a lot of times you'll have like a post-observation meeting or something you have to fill out. And so a lot of times they ask you, like, how are you going to move forward with your class, or what's the next step? And what you can do is you can pull out your data. You can say, look, my students rock this, so I'm moving on to the next lesson. Or, hey, a lot of my students didn't get this based on the data, right? You don't have to make anything up. You show what the data gave you, and then you can say, I'm going to slow down, or I'm going to pull these students out. So admin is not, obviously they want you to be good teachers, right? They hired you in your school to do a good job, but they want to see how you're using what you're given to move your classroom forward, right? They want to see you collect and analyze your data and use it to inform whether we slow down or whether we keep going on pace. They're not so concerned about being perfect all the way along the way, right? It's about learning from your students, knowing where your students are at, and teaching them appropriately at the appropriate speed, right? So that is kind of what I've seen as being a key to classroom observations and something that administration really wants to see. So those are my 3 tips plus 1 bonus on how to collect and analyze data. A lot of these things are easier said than done. So if you have questions or comments, you can leave those below, and I'll get back to them as soon as I can. If you haven't already downloaded that free guide, The 5 Things Great Teachers Get Right, feel free to download that in the description below. And also jump into that Facebook group if you want help in collecting and analyzing data or on anything else teacher related. So I hope you guys have a great night, and we'll talk to you later.